Hey, welcome. So today I am going to be looking at some Zig code. We're going to be writing some Zig. We're going to get Ziggy with it. And the thing that we'll write is a little tool, a CLI tool, that basically takes your entire code base, walks it, keeps track of the directories and files, and then generates a file tree. And then after each file tree, you generate a little markdown block of code for each file to generate one huge markdown file. So the point of this is basically to be used in context for LLMs. It's mainly for a Zig project. So let's get started. So I'm going to be naming this repo codebase MD, and I'm going to start the project by running zig init and just wait for Zig to do its thing. And what I want to do is remove the root file and clean up the main file, because we're going to be starting from scratch. So I'm just going to delete root, and then in main I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to delete all that, and then just close the function off again. And that also requires me to remove all the lib stuff, which starts over here. So we'll remove all of this, and we will go to the error. We'll remove all of this, and we don't have to add the library. We don't have to install the artifact, and probably something with the tests. We can remove that, and we can remove the lib unit tests and the run step for unit tests. Okay, so now we have a fresh Zig project, and what I'm going to do is just open main.zig. Let's just zoom this a little bit so you are able to see what's happening. Okay, so first thing, I'm just gonna import std and just do a little std.debug.print hello world. That makes sense. And then I'm gonna open a terminal. Maybe actually I'll open ZLJ. I have a little thing with my run folder where I need to make that xdg runtime thing, and then I can run ZLJ. Cool. And then I don't want these panels like that. And now I can expand this over here, and I can just, yeah, can leave it just like that. And there we go. We have a hello world. So let's start off by thinking, what do we want to do? So first of all, we do want to start in the current working directory. We might also want to be able to specify a different input path so that you can generate it for any folder, but we'll just start with the basics. We're gonna try and run through this with just no options and just going for it, because I also want to add git ignore support and basically ignore folders like node modules or whatever is in your git ignore.envs. Obviously this tool shouldn't put your secrets into a file so that the the LLM has all your secrets. But okay, so how do we basically walk a folder in Zig? So there's a nice little I'm just gonna do const fs equals std.fs as well, so that I just can call fs. So we get the current working directory by saying cwd is equals to the fs.current working directory. So that gives us the access to the current working directory. And I think this might have to be a var. We'll see. So we can do var current work directory, and then there are two ways that we can walk this, I believe. So one is the cwd.walk method, but what this does is it's always going to walk every single folder and file, and that will make us have to basically just continue once we reach a path that we don't want to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to iterate it manually, and then not even try and open the directory that is being iterated if it's in the ignore list. We don't have an ignore list for now, but we plan on adding it, so we might as well just do that now. So we're gonna make an iter, which is going to be iterate, And basically what we want to do is we want to say that while there is a next, we can capture that with a entry. While there's a next, basically we want to, can I type please? This entry can also fail, I believe, so we need to do like while try. And then entry would be an entry, and then we get name and type. So this I actually want to do recursively, so I'm going to move this into another function called walk directory, and then what we want to pass this thing is a directory which is an fsdir, and then I also want to add something, a depth, which is going to be a usize maybe, and we also want to add a current dir name, which is an optional const u8. So what this allows us to do is basically the optional const u8, we have reference to the current directory that we're in, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So now we have the directory, so we can move all of this in here, start walking it, and this probably requires a return type, which I'm not sure what it's going to be for now. And this shouldn't be that, it should be dir, and this dir had to be opened with iterate to work, and I think current working directory does that by default, so we can do that. So what I want to do now is just say try walk dir like that, and then we don't need to make this var, we can make it const, and then we'll just print the entry's name for now. And a new line, so we can do dot entry dot name, I believe. Yes, that's a const u8, and it's going to be a string, and now we can run this. We're not using depth and current dir name, which will be an issue, so let's just delete this for now. We can add it back once we use it. I'll go to this and run zbr just to see that it actually prints out the stuff. So we got an error. The error says that expected arguments, oh yeah, of course, so I removed these so we don't use them for now. Try again, we have a little error. Expected type fsdir iterator found const fsdir, right? So this has to be a var because we are in fact using it as a mutable. And another error, this seems like a runtime error. That's a race condition, reached unreachable code. We're off to a lovely start. Maybe I need to give it the pointer of the current working directory. Since we're calling this method on it, we might need to pass a pointer, and then in this case we can do that and do a var. So seeing as I'm not allowed to pass options to current working directory, I think what I'll have to do, I can change this back to a const, I believe, because the issue wasn't with that, and then this doesn't need to be a pointer for now. But what I have to do is I have to open the current directory with the iterate option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say start maybe equals the current working directory dot open directory, and the subpath will just be the current path that we're in, and then the important part is to say dot iterate has to be true. So then we have the start, and then I can just provide the starting directory over here. I think that's what we need to do. So then we have iterator. Okay, so let's try that out. Let's do zvr, and that didn't work. So am I missing something? Oh, this has to be try, I think, because that could fail. Try that again, and there we go. Cool. So we have the current directory. So after getting into the current directory, we have to check if this entry is a file or if it's a directory, because we currently only want to well, we kind of want to print the directory name as well, but we then also want to access that directory and then recursively walk that too. So for safety, at the beginning, I'm just going to say max depth is a variable that I'll use for now. And then we'll add the depth over here, which is going to be a usize, and the, what are we looking for? I'm just going to hard type this to usize as well so that there aren't any mismatches. And then we also want to say the current dir name, because we kind of want to print that as well. So that's optional, so we have to update this. The first depth is 0 and the current dir name is null, because we don't want to print the name of the directory we're in now. We just want to start printing them as we start iterating recursively. So now that we have we know that we have the entry, so what we can do is say that if entry.type kind, not type, is equal to .directory. So if the entry.kind is a directory, we basically want to recurse, but first we want to print the directory, and then we want to recurse down and do this again. So we'll just call walkdir again with the, so basically we have to first open this directory. So we can say maybe something like const inner, make it more explicit, inner dir equals try dir dot open dir, I guess, and that's going to be entry dot name, and the args again will be dot iterate. So this should give us a directory again, and we'll skip the printing part for now because I'm not sure how, because basically for printing I think the default's going to be to standard output, and when the CLI accepts flags, something like an output file or something, then we can print to an output. But for in the beginning we're going to print the standout, and then you can just use like a little pipe to just put it into a file or something. So we'll get the standout and then do that, but for now let's just walk this thing. And yeah, so I just got a little hint over there where it basically, we can do this right at the top and say if the depth is greater than or equal to the max depth, we basically want to return, because we want to stop iterating, and this is just a hard limit for now. We could print a warning standard.log.warn, max depth reached, skipping. We can improve that log at some point, but for now, just so that we have something. And then does standard log return? I'll make sure that it doesn't return. Okay, cool. So we skip that. Then we can do this. We can say that we want to walk the dir again, and this time we want to use the inner dir, and the depth would be depth +1, and the current directory name would be entry.name. So that makes it kind of easy. And then else, if the entry.kind, we could use a switch, but it's just two cases, so entry.kind equals a, I believe it's file. Is this valid? Yeah. Yeah, so then we want to print the inner part of the directory. So we might want to tab over and then print again. Yeah, I think we'll deal with some issues regarding indentation and what level we're currently on, but Let's just try and get through this. So we currently have that. The current dir name is not being used anyway, so that's because we aren't logging anything yet or printing anything. So let's get the standard output, and I think I'm going to initialize that in the main function. So we'll do const standard out equals sd.io get standout.writer, and this should not throw an error. So we have standout, and we want to maybe pass that to walk deer as well. So we can do standout start. What if we make that global? Is that maybe better, so that we don't have to pass it around everywhere? Not really sure, but let's try. We can do, so we have the inner, so over here we can do standout dot print. I don't know what that is, but what I'm going to do for now is just say I just want to print the directory with a new line, the current dir name, and I believe this could fail. Yes. And I believe this should maybe be a var. And yeah, so when we do that, now we want to print the file name. I don't want to print the current directory. I might want to do one tab over and then new line. I mean, then the file name and then new line, just to see what is being outputted here. So there's a Zig out file and a Zig cache file, so there might be a bunch of gibberish, but let's try this in the big terminal. CVR. We have some compilation errors. Let's go through them. The first one is cannot format optional without a specifier. Right, so current dir name could be null, and we also want to try walk dir. Let's go back to main. Where do we call walk dir? Next. We want to try this, and we also want to where we specify the current dir name, which could be null. Actually, we don't want to print it in that case, so we can just say that if current dir name something like that, right? So this should be const u8, yeah. So only if we have that, then we want to print. Let's try again. Okay, there's a bunch of weird stuff happening. So it starts off with the big tab, bolt.zig. Alright, so we don't want to tab over. Okay, so depending on the depth, we want to repeat the tabs, I guess. We have Zig cache, and then it tabs over. More Zig cache, the O folder, Zig out. So it seems like there is some issues with the multiple printing, and I think basically oh okay, yeah, well it kind of makes sense because we don't want to print this every time we access a directory. We want to print this once in the top level. Yeah, I believe that's what we want to do. Let's delete that and then not do that over here. Let's try this. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so where's main? Alright, so source main.zig. Yeah, okay. So this is basically the file structure. We might want to add like little lines just to make it clear that there's the indentations work, but it's kind of like not perfect. So let's do that, and then let's do that. Try again. Yeah, I think that's good. Cool. Okay, so we basically have our file tree printed. And now what we want to do is we want to iterate the files again after we've done this iteration to print out the contents of each file. We might want to skip that for .o files and stuff like that. But let's just get it flowing. We'll add basically like get, ignore, support and stuff at some point, but let's just try and get this ball rolling. So we got the file name, that's sorted out. So this is basically print file tree. So walk deer, not really accurate. We can say print file tree. And now we want to do try print file contents. And what we can do, because this is going to be the same process, except we are going to skip doing anything for directories and just print the contents every time we reach a file. So it's going to be kind of the same function, but we don't need to check depth. We don't have to check the current tier name. So we might be able to factor some of this stuff out, or maybe just reuse this function. For instance, we could allocate a array list and then just give all the file paths to the array list, and then we don't have to iterate again. So that could be some sort of improvement, but let's just try and raw dog it for now. And we're going to get a deer, which is going to be fs deer. And then we want to do all of that again, basically. So I'm going to copy this and just put that over there. We don't need to do this anymore. We don't need to do that anymore. Now we basically want to switch this if. We don't need to care about anything about directories. So if the entry.kind is file, we want to read this file. Basically, we first want to print so we could do a something like dash 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 and then the s. Yeah, that's basically what I want to do. And we might have to give it the full path, but I think the LLM might be smart enough to realize what that is. And now we want to basically read all the files, contents, and we might have to allocate some memory for this. Equals try deer.read file alloc. Yeah, so we're gonna need a memory allocator, and this returns void for now. We want an allocator, which should be a stand.mem.allocator, and we can initialize the allocator in here. So I think I'm going to use arena because it has to basically live the entirety of the program. So we could do, well, we could allocate, deallocate, and reuse the buffer maybe. Right, let's just start simple. I'm going to say that the arena is going to be a stand.heap.arena allocator, and it uses the page allocator as the underlying one. So we're going to allocate page by page, and then we can say const allocator equals the arena.allocator, and then contents takes a allocator, and now we can read file alloc with the allocator. And the file path would be basically the entry.name. Max bytes, does this need to be specified? I guess we can make it something like 1 megabyte or something. Yeah, it's a use size, so we have to give that. So let's do something like 1024. Yeah, let's do 1024 times 1024. So that's basically megabytes times 10. So if your file is bigger than 10 megabytes, this will fail. buy more RAM. Okay, so then we have the contents. What we want to do now is, yeah, basically print out the contents and then do this again. I'm going to say end and start. But yeah, we kind of need to check if this is a directory. Else if entry.kind equals a directory, because we need to sort of do this in a nested way. Yeah, that's what we want to do, and that's what we want to do. Basically just do all of this again with the inner directory. So it's going to do this recursively, and we'll have a file tree and then print the contents of each file if it is a file. Let's see. No compilation errors, but we get a runtime crash. Wow, file too big, right? So that's because we're printing O files, which means that file is huge. This is a megabyte, right? So this is 1000 bytes, which is kilobytes, times 1000, which is mega, and then 10. Yeah. Okay, so let's not do that. Let's just check if, let's skip it for the Zig cache folder. If standard mem.equal the u8 of the entry.name and .zig cache. Continue. Just skip this one. And we also want to do that for the Zig probably git folder. There's a bunch, so basically I have to loop this, but let's just do, because I don't think Zig is in, I mean git is initialized here yet. Let's just skip Zig out as well. There we go. So we got some files. Pretty cool. So first we print the file tree, get every single file, and so we should work on the logic to skip certain pieces, and then we get build.zig start, which is the inner one, and we might have to print like the full path, the current directory name with build.zig. So I'm thinking that walk function needs to be a little bit polymorphic, or do multiple things, or just refactored so that we can reuse that logic, or collect all the file names and just read them at the end. Okay, so this is the build file, and then this is the build.zig.zon, and then we get the readme, and we get the main.zig. So kind of already does what I needed to, but I'm going to add some flags or some to-dos for the next video because I am running out of time. Is basically I want to refactor the walk to collect file paths for second pass, and then also add support for output check dot git ignore ignored files. What else? Yeah, I guess that's for the next video. So this was just basically a little fun exercise to sort of check, you know, just play with Zig a little bit and generate stuff for LLM. So if I feed this into an LLM, I'll be like, okay, this is my project. Give me some tips on how to refactor something, and then it gives it a bit of context, and it can tell you, oh, you have to look at this file and do that and do this. And the plan is, obviously, you can see in the README that this CLI tool is going to be called codemd. And then there's some options. And then there we go. So this is a self-printing file. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you want to see more Zig stuff. I've been playing with it and it's quite cool. And yeah, see you in the next one.